Hello, today I'm going to speak about my course paper. It has a topic addressing learning styles in online education. To start with, online education is developing more and more. And it's not just because we all are suffering from the pandemic situation and online learning is a real necessity, but also because people choose online learning with their will. Of course, online education has many advantages, such as the flexibility, better time management. Also, online education can improve collaboration of students and their virtual communication. The biggest advantage of online learning is that students can learn from anywhere in the world where is good internet connection. From the above, we can conclude that online learning has only advantages and it simply cannot have any disadvantages, but it's not true, unfortunately. Among the disadvantages of online learning are those: teachers focus mostly on theory, that is why practice recedes to the background. Also, students suffer from a lack of live communication. In addition, children cheat more and learn less because they cannot be followed or checked. And the worst and biggest problem of online studying is the lack of teachers' experience, who are accustomed to the traditional learning and don't understand how to properly explain to their students new material and conduct their lessons. With this work, we will help teachers to solve most of their problems because here are a lot of useful information that will show exactly how to work with different types of students. Now you can see the table of contents which is divided into two chapters. First is responsible for theoretical background and second for practical usage of different learning styles. Now let's speak about the concept of learning styles. The idea of the term learning style was first recognized as early as 334 before Christ by Aristotle, who believed that each child possessed specific talents and skills. The first person who started his research in this area was David Cope. He defined learning style as the process by which an individual retains new information or skills. Then Peter Honey and Alan Mafford have been developing the Cope's idea by emphasizing on how it is important to use it on practice. At the same time, educational psychologist whose name is Walter Bob proposed three modalities of learning, which include visual, auditory, and kinesthetic model. This model was often referred simply as WAC. Over a long period, different scientists have been trying to find the best ways for students' learning. In such way appeared one of the most popular theories, which called work model. This model was designed by Neil Fleming in 1987. It defines four main types of learners. First is visual, second is auditory, third learning and writing, and the last fourth is kinesthetic. Now we are going to describe types of learners according to the work model. The first most common type of learners is visual, or in other words spatial. Such learners memorize all information through what they can see. It may be a room which is presented by a picture, chart, or map. The second type of learners is called auditory or oral. For such students, it is better to provide information in the form of audio recording or an active discussion. The third type of students is called writing and reading. For such students, a text is really more powerful than any kind of visual or auditory representation of the topic. They perceive information well in the form of different notes, texts, and printouts. And the last learning type is called kinesthetic. For such students, it is better to do a practical task than to listen to a long presentation or explanation. These students tend to actively participate in different demonstration, experiments, and so on. In addition to the types of students that were introduced by the work model above, there are several other types of students which include solitary type of students, or in other words intrapersonal. For such students it is better to learn alone. These students cannot stand different crowds, noisy companies, they avoid too much attention. And the next type of students is called social or interpersonal. Such students like to communicate with others, or working in huge or small groups through different social interactions. For them, it is really hard to work alone. And the last type is called logical. Logical learners use their skills for problem solving, gaining knowledge through visual resources and through critical thinking. Such students enjoy different hard subjects such as computer science, drafting, mathematics, and so on. Now we are going to speak about some negative scholars' views about learning styles. And neuroscientist Susan Greenfield expressed her idea that students can be defined as purely visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learners, as it is real nonsense. This thought was supported by Aileen Connell and Caroline Lodge. They explain in their work effective learning that an individual learning method will be various in different situations and it will be changed over the time. That is why it is really unimportant to diagnose someone's learning style. And finally, psychologist Scott Linienfeld announced that teaching to particular learning style doesn't work at all. But other scientists absolutely support the idea of including different learning styles into learning process. In her work, which is called Observing Students to Teach More Effectively, Barbara Hong explains that learning different subjects can call for a wide range of specific methods. With these words, Barbara emphasized the importance of learning styles and techniques. Howard Gardner suggests that traditional psychometric views of intelligence are not comprehensive and, uh, and are way too limited. That's why it is really important to use various techniques that actively influence each process. David Kolb supported Gardner's idea and said that it was beneficial to know which type of learner you are in order to play your strengths. Each learning style has its advantages and disadvantages, but all the disadvantages are completely insufficient and they can be easily corrected with effort. If speak about benefits, they are really important and will help change not only the learning process but also encourage students to learn more. Now let's speak about different strategies for different learning styles. Studying tips for visual learners. In order to explain a rule to students with visual disposition, the teachers need to find some pictures in advance. To do this, teacher can use the application Pinterest. There is an extremely large number of interesting pictures for every taste and theme. For such students, it is better to use color textbooks, preferably with pictures for explanation, because it will be really difficult for them to perceive information from black and white source. A good example for such book is Roundup, written by Virginia Evans and Jenny Dooley. Also, for students with visual inclination, it will be really good to use kind of brainstorming called a concept map as a repetition of the studied topic. The best application for creating such maps is called Canva. Studying tips for auditory learners. It will be really good for such learners not only show a presentation in order to explain new material, but also read all important information aloud or ask students to read it in turn. In this way, students will be able to memorize all the necessary material. Also, for students with an auditory predisposition, it will be good to use songs analysis as their homework. It is a good idea to offer to auditory students to examine illustration in textbooks and convert them into verbal descriptions, and then discuss it in small groups. And finally, it would be really nice if students had more opportunities to discuss new topics, words, rules, etc., or repeat the covered material. Now let's speak about studying tips for reading and writing learners. Since students with reading and writing disposition are characterized by reading and writing information, teachers shouldn't deprive them from this. Teacher can ask students to work with text written in the original English. Also, for such students, it will be really useful to rewrite some notes after our lessons, because these students remember the new material best when they write. Moreover, if some students have to show their presentation during the lesson, it will be a good idea if other classmates write the most important information in the chat in few sentences, or express their views on the topic or presentation during the presentation showing. Studying tips for kinesthetic learners. Students with a kinesthetic tendency don't perceive information with the visual explanation, but through the explanation of that rule in practice. That's why it is good for such students to use various real objects or life stories to explain something. For example, when explaining the topic of appearance, a teacher can use a photo of a celebrity in order to show where eyes, lips, ears, hair, etc. are located. This will make it easier for students to absorb material they need. It will also be good for kinesthetic students to use different training exercises where their knowledge can be applied in practice. Studying tips for logical, social, and solitary learners. For logical learners, it will be really effective to break long text into smaller segments. The teacher can shuffle these segments and ask students to restore their segments, thus engaging the logical and understanding of what is read. In order to deal with social and solitary learners, teachers should prepare some tasks that students will perform independently and in some groups. Now let's speak about YouTube. Why YouTube videos are important for different learning styles. YouTube is an extremely useful resource for online learning process, as there are students and teachers can find an explanation of any difficult topic, find an interesting song that will complement an explanation. In addition, there can be found different interesting videos with word definitions and analysis of writers' works. Also, the great advantage of YouTube videos is that a student can rewatch the same video as many times as it will be necessary. Moreover, using YouTube is extremely simple, as even a little child can handle with it. You don't have to create an account to log in and so on. You simply need to find a search box, then print what you are looking for and press enter. So the information you need will appear immediately. Now let's speak about the Quizlet. Quizlet as a tool for different learning styles. The application which is called Quizlet is really powerful tool for studying English, as it has wide range of different tasks which will be suitable for each type of students and will make online learning more interesting. Quizlet can be used by students to prepare for tests. It helps to differentiate the repetition of the material and learn new words in an interesting way. Now let's speak about the turtle diary and learning styles. In order to think about the different learning styles, teacher can choose from wide range of different games, which include games for students of different ages and levels of English knowledge. There are games based on addition, typing, word search, parts of speech, and assessments of knowledge. Here a teacher could write in a search box what topic is needed, and all possible game options will appear. Now let's speak about some interesting words. Kinesthetic relates to learning through feelings such as sense of body position, muscle movements, and weight is felt through nerve endings. Crossing is a transition from one topic to another. Solitary, enjoying being alone, frequently spending time alone. Oral, relating to the ear or sense of hearing. Indentation, the action of indenting something or the process of being intended. Prone to the advantage of something or someone. Aptitude, a natural ability to do something. Few words to sum up. It is really important to take into account the specifics of each style. In such way, teachers will be able to make the curriculum more interesting and the students will be more active in participation. And finally, thank you very much for your attention.